Welcome to another episode of Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Patton. And on this episode, got a lot to talk about. Of course, a lot of action in the AFC South and just in sports in general. And of course, I like to start the show, of course, obviously with just different things in sports that have captured my attention usually. But this episode, I'm going to start it off with something in the AFC South, and it was breaking news today, and that is Travis Hunter is out for the rest of the season. Yes, Travis Hunter, the two-way threat star from the University of Colorado, of course, got drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he hurt his knee in practice a couple weeks ago. I think it was non-contact. And of course, they put him on the short-term IR. Well, he's had surgery today for an LCL, a torn LCL. He'll be out for the rest of the season. And essentially, basically the recovery is about 6 months, 4 to 6 months, I believe is what the recovery time was mentioned. Now, that is a guy that is dynamic. Now, he wasn't as dynamic as what a lot of people wanted him to be with the Jacksonville Jaguars this year. Some of that's due to game plan and scheme. Some of that's just to him learning and growing as a player. But unfortunately, he is out for the season. Big blow to the wide receiver core for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They just added Jacoby Myers from the Oakland Raiders to go along with Brian Thomas Jr., Parker Washington. And, Brian Thomas Jr. was out the last game versus the Houston Texans. We're going to get into that game just a little bit later in the episode, but just wanted to go over that. That's a huge blow for the Jacksonville Jaguars as Travis Hunter is out for the season. Now, I do have this to say as well, since it is Veterans Day. Salute to the vets. Salute to their service. I do have some military members in my family as well. Of course, some are passed away, like, of course, Uncle James. I have my grandfather on my mom's side, my grandfather on my dad's side. And then of course, I have a cousin that is a vet as well. Salute to you all for your service and all that you did and done over your service time. Risking your life for this land of ours and for the people here in this land as well. So salute to you, of course, as well. Now, more news I've got. Of course, Nico Collins. Of course, plenty remember Nico Collins as the guy who traded Luka from the Mavericks to the Lakers. Well, he got fired today. It was official. 10 o'clock or 10:30 a.m. press conference. Yeah, they finally let him go. Mavs started 3-8 this season. Anthony Davis is injured, who is the big piece of the trade for Luka Doncic, or sending Luka Doncic to the Lakers to receive back in Dallas. And it just hasn't worked out. I will say that, some thought he should have been fired when he made the trade, which was a double secret chat between him and Lakers brass to make that happen, which they talked to no other teams but the Lakers. But here's a question I have for you in this whole thing that I don't think anybody's really brought up. Okay, the owner could have fired him right then and there after this trade happened. But the owner seemed to be kind of talking himself into why it was a good move. So, he just kept talking about what they needed to do and things like that or whatever. And I'm like, okay, so now you want to make him hold him responsible for this trade when you were kind of backing him for this trade. So it just doesn't make sense. I think a bit of him being fired was because of the Luka Doncic trade. But it just, to me, if you're going to fire him and things like that, just because of the trade and because things not working out and all those things, you kind of probably already knew the trade wasn't going to work out when it happened to begin with. You're trading a star in his prime in Luka for Anthony Davis, which, Anthony Davis is talented, but he's oft injured and, he's not been known to carry a team through the playoffs. I mean, people will talk about the 2020 Lakers, 2019-2020 Lakers, but they did have LeBron James on that team as well. So can't really say he carried the entire team. So, that's my question about it, the timing of the firing. Not necessarily that he got fired, just the timing of the firing, and then the kind of the backtracking of the owners to first want to keep him and understand and stand behind the decision and let him make all the decisions, and then now you want to fire him. So, to be honest, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me why you didn't just fire him and begin with if you felt that way, to me. So the owners have to take some responsibility for the rest of this as well, just like Nico has to, just like that just is what it is. And that's just my opinion. Hey, you can differ if you like, but hey, that's what I think about the firing as well. And another thing I want to talk about, just to kind of finish up the segment of getting things off my chest, as you may, is the name John Gruden. Now, it seems like every time a head coaching position is up, John Gruden's name gets mentioned. Like, for example, they mentioned him. Fans have mentioned him with the Tennessee Titans. Fans have mentioned him with New York. Fans have mentioned him. I mean, just it seems like every college or pro job that comes up, somehow, some way, John Gruden's name gets thrown into the equation. And the question I have is why? Why? If you notice, when he went to Tampa Bay and was coaching in Tampa Bay, he coached Tony Dungy's squad that he put together to a championship. But after that, it was all downhill from there. They couldn't really win at that level that they were winning at because, hey, maybe John Gruden took that team and they were hungry for a title at that point, but he didn't know how to make moves from there. If you look at his second stint in Oakland, which he came out of the Monday Night Football booth to go do, let me just give you a few numbers. 2018, he was 4-12. 2019, he was 7-9. 2020, he was 8-8. And he started 2021 3-2 before he resigned. Does that sound like a coach that just like, okay, gotta have him? Oh, he is just a superstar. Does that really sound like a coach that's a superstar that you need as a coach? To me, it doesn't. He can stay on the sideline. Hey, does a great job, I guess, going over, meeting with quarterbacks and talking about quarterbacks and different plays and that infamous play that he always talks about, which I will not talk about because I don't even remember all of it. But anyway, to me, leave John Gruden where he is. Let's get some young up and coming talent, or at least a coach that's coached within the last 4 or 5 years or something. No, leave him alone. Leave him alone where he is. He does not need to be back on the NFL sideline at any point in time, in my opinion. All right, had to get those things off my chest, but we're going to get into some AFC South football talk. We're going to do that, but first we're going to go to a commercial break. Thank you all to my sponsors as well. But yeah, we got to go to a commercial break. Come on back. We're going to talk a little AFC South football.
EBO Beard Butter and EBO Beard Wash are two of the best beard grooming products for men worldwide. They help promote growth, keep your beard moisturized and soft, and enhance your overall upkeep of your facial hair. And with the new promo code MPAFC10, you can get 10% off of these products. Just go to www.etsy.com/shop/EBO Beard Butter. Again, that's www.etsy.com/shop/EBO Beard Butter. And again, the promo code MPAFC10. Again, MPAFC10, where you can get 10% off any products except for beard boxes. So treat your beard better today by going to get this EBO Beard Butter and EBO Beard Wash.
All righty, we're back on touring the AFC South. Like I mentioned before the break, we're going to talk a little AFC South football. I already mentioned, of course, Travis Hunter out for the season, but I do have to mention the team he plays for. That's the Jacksonville Jaguars. They headed to Houston to take on the Houston Texans this past Sunday. Let me give you just a scenario. The Jags are up 29-10 with it's early in the fourth quarter. They're up 29-10. I'm thinking, okay, cool. The Jags are going to sweep the Houston Texans for the first time since the 2017 season. Boy, was I wrong. The Jags did jag, and not in a good way. They ended up losing the game 36-29 to the Houston Texans, who, by the way, were led by Davis Mills, the backup quarterback, because C.J. Stroud was out for the game due to still dealing with lingering concussion issues. Also, this week, there has been no indication whether he's going to play or not either. So just to keep that in mind. But Davis Mills, 27 to 45, 292 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And that 1 interception was early in the game. So throughout the rest of the game, hey, Davis Mills was dealing back there, dealing against this Jacksonville Jaguars secondary and defense. First things first, pass rush. Where was the pass rush? Josh Hines Allen, Trayvon, Trayvon Walker. Where were you? Where was Eric Armstead? I know early in the game Eric Armstead was there, but where was he at late in the game? I'm just trying to figure out, where did the pass rush just disappear to? I remember at some point they tried to call Jacksonville's defensive line Sacksonville. There were no sacks allowed in this game. No sacks allowed at all. But they were just a massive failure to get pressure on Davis Mills, and Davis Mills was making it happen. I mean, he was dealing to bring them back into the game. And then, of course, I've got to say the failure to close out this game. When they were coming back, the Jaguars just needed one play to make this happen, to win the game, to seal the game, or something to steal the momentum from them. The offense could not give that to them. Now, someone will say, hey, it's not all on Trevor Lawrence, but I'm like, hey, he's the guy here. He's got to make a play to seal this game. I know the wide receivers are there. They just got a new one. Jacoby Myers, he had 3 receptions, 41 yards. Not really something to write home about in terms of, a number one guy, especially when Brian Thomas Jr. is not there, who's a guy that plenty have criticized for drops. But somehow, some way, that offense led by Trevor Lawrence has to make a play to stem that tide. They didn't make a play to stem that tide, hence the loss. Hence them, losing ground on the second place spot they have in the division, and the Houston Texans gaining ground as well. It just definitely was a game that, it was a very, very bad loss. And, I know Jacksonville fans and just and I thought, potentially this could be a team that could make a run to the playoffs if they play up to the standard of the talent that they have. Well, they didn't play up to the standard of the talent that they have. And also, I don't know if that run is coming, because I just don't see them playing consistently on the football field. They don't play consistent. That 1 week they're great, then they're down, they're great, then they're down, great, then they're down. Can't be that way at all times. You got to be consistent. You got to have something consistently that you do on the field. And unfortunately, the Jacksonville Jaguars do not have something consistently that they do on the football field all at one time. Also, just by the way, just throw this in there. The Jaguars did trade Tyson Campbell away to trade it for a corner. I thought Greg Newsome that would come in and do a good job. Unfortunately, he hasn't necessarily been as good as I thought he would be. I thought he would be a little bit more sticky defensively and just a little bit better in tune with this defense and what they wanted. Unfortunately, he has not been that guy for them. I guess the search continues to find out if they will find a guy or if they will pay Greg Newsome. We will see what happens. But speaking of just the are making a run. The Houston Texans, I mean, honestly, they've won a few games. They beat the 49ers. They come in this game without their starting quarterback and win in comeback fashion. I mean, they're not looking absolutely outstanding, but they're looking better than they looked before. I mean, I will say this. There are some people out there throwing Davis Mills out there saying he should be the starting quarterback. No, he is a backup. We know he's a backup. It is what it is. CJ Stroud is the starting quarterback for this team in Houston. But Davis Mills definitely looks solid. And, this team can actually there's potential for them to go on a run. Now, I will say, the setup for them is kind of nice, kind of interesting as well. But the good thing for them is the division leader right now is the Indianapolis Colts. And, they've only lost, 2 games. You've got the Texans are right there. You got the Colts. The Jaguars, and then you've got the Texans right there. But remember, the Colts and the Texans have not played this year. They still play each other. They play each other 2 times. So what I can say is, hey, they play each other 2 times. That's 2 games for the Texans right there. If they're able to pull those off, I know it sounds crazy given the way that the Colts have played, and then that the Texans have kind of played up and down. I know it sounds crazy, but hey, it's possible. Also, they do play the Raiders. This is the Texans, right? They play the Colts twice. They play the Raiders. They play the Cardinals. They play the Bills, which if you've seen the Bills versus the boy, the Miami Dolphins, there is a chance for the Texans to beat the Bills. The Titans as well, they do play one more time, which is this upcoming Sunday. So the Texans are not necessarily out of the race for potentially making a run at either this division or the playoffs. I know. It seems a little far-fetched. I understand that. But it's possible, especially with that defense. That defense is for real. I will say they weren't for real giving up 29 points, but they can show flashes and be dominant if they want to be. So we'll see what happens when it comes to the Texans and their run and the Jaguars and whatever is going on down there because, that's a rough loss to take. I mean, come on. You up 29-10, you lose 36-29. Yeah, that's a tough one to take. And, a lot of people were believing in the Jaguars. Or some people were believing in the Jaguars. Of course, the new head coach, Liam Cohen, Mr. Duval himself. But, in some instances, they still are the same Jaguars. It's just a matter of can they get out of those doldrums and get themselves together. I'm not betting on it to happen, but you never know what can happen. What else could happen, though, is this commercial break. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, going to talk a little bit of Indianapolis Colts and a little Tennessee Titans on tour in the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton.
A shift. A shift is something that happens and changes the dynamics. And that's what happened when Garrett Logistics was born. After 10 years as a sales pro in the logistics world of sporting goods, John Garrett decided to pivot to the world of freight and start a brokerage. So you're saying to yourself, why trust Garrett Logistics? Well, Garrett Logistics helps shippers improve overall workflow, along with increased on-time pickup and delivery percentages. Last-minute loads, multi-drop pickups, and more are part of the services with Garrett Logistics. They're available Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., all times Central Standard Time. So give them a ring at 615-400-8484. That's 615-400-8484, or you can email them at john@garrettlogistics.co or visit their website at garrettlogistics.co. Garrett Logistics, where the motto is, it's not just freight to us, it's your business.
All right, and we're back on touring the AFC South. Of course, we did talk about Travis Hunter earlier. Again, if you missed it, Travis Hunter out for the rest of the season. Surgery, on a LCL in his knee. Recovery time supposed to be around 6 months for him. But we do have to get on with the show. We do have to talk about a few other things. We do have to talk about the Indianapolis Colts. They got right back on the winning trail, beating the Atlanta Falcons in Germany, 31-25. Yes, the Colts are now 8-2. And they are leading this division, the AFC South. But I will say I would be remiss if I didn't talk about one special player for them, and that would be Jonathan Taylor. Now, Jonathan Taylor, get this line right here. 32 carries, 244 yards with a 7.6 yard per carry average, by the way, and 3 touchdowns. Three. Now, I know some are not going to say it, and I started saying it already a couple weeks ago, and some are trying to give this to a quarterback, and I understand. But let's say JT for MVP. JT for MVP. Yeah, I put a question mark, but hey, I put an exclamation point. If you ask me, I put an exclamation point, but I just put a question mark there, just for the aesthetics, I should say. But JT for MVP, to me, he has been the most important player on this team, which is one of the best teams in the NFL. He is, for the season, 189 carries, 1,139 yards, and 15 touchdowns. 15 of them things. 15 of them. So, potentially at this point, he could go for over 20 touchdowns this year. That's amazing. Incredible for a running back, for sure. And it just seems like, this offense is him. Basically, it is all Jonathan Taylor centric. If you look at it, a lot of people were talking about a couple weeks ago, Daniel Jones, you can't give him the award because Daniel Jones is playing so well. Daniel Jones. let me give you the numbers for Daniel Jones the last couple of games. He's had 2 touchdowns. He's thrown 3 interceptions, and he's lost a fumble as well. Or he's been under siege. I give him that, but he hasn't been as great as he has been to start the season. Not to say he cannot right the ship and be better, but you've seen in the last couple games the importance of Jonathan Taylor to this offense. I know plenty were saying, well, he did this last year and, he just didn't have quarterback play. Now he has quarterback play in there too. And I get that. But you saw what happened in the Pittsburgh Steelers game. He didn't run the ball very well, and hence they lost. I know there was a lot of pressure. I understand that, which I'm going to get to in a second and address that. But he did not run the ball very well. The Pittsburgh Steelers stopped it all up. And Daniel Jones could not beat them. Daniel Jones could not beat them. Of course, some of that's because all the pressure he was facing. He had sacked 5 times in that game versus the Steelers. Now, switch it to this game versus the Falcons. He got sacked 7 times in this game. Yes, 7 times. The Colts gave up 7 sacks in this game. Now, one of those, I would say, was Jonathan Taylor's fault because he did miss a blitzing linebacker. He whiffed on the block, got thrown out the way, and he was home free to get to Daniel Jones. But 7 sacks nonetheless that they gave up, and they still won the game because Jonathan Taylor, he put the cape on and he became Superman on that football field that day. That's what he did. So, that's what I can say about just Jonathan Taylor. I think he's the MVP. I think, I know it's a throwback or somebody's like, oh, no, it's got to be a quarterback. But I think he has a very good case for MVP. I'll say he has a very good case for MVP. Now, I will say there are 2 other candidates that I want to throw out there, too. One of those is Drake May. Drake May, 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 8-2 Patriots. Hey, the Patriots hadn't looked this good since Tom Brady was playing for them. Let's just be honest. I mean, even when McCorkle Jones was their quarterback, I said McCorkle. Even when McCorkle Jones was quarterback for them, they didn't look this good offensively. I mean, he's doing all the things. He's running the football. He's throwing the deep passes. He's making the smart decisions, and he's definitely making the Patriots better. Yeah, got to say that. I mean, he's doing it with Stephon Diggs, who is a veteran in this league now, and I think Keyshawn Boutte is what his name is. So, he's doing that with him. Those 2 as his top receivers. Of course, the other guy I want to mention is Matthew Stafford. Now, Matthew Stafford is 37 years old, but if you look at the way he's playing, you would not think he is 37 years old. They eviscerated the San Francisco 49ers, putting up 42 points against them in San Francisco. Well, it's really Santa Clara, but the San Francisco 49ers put up 42 points against them. Matthew Stafford did. For the season, Matthew Stafford has 25 touchdown passes and only 2 interceptions. Yes, he only has 2 interceptions. So to me, if anybody's giving Jonathan Taylor a run for his money as the MVP, it's Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford doesn't get enough talk about potentially being the MVP. It would be crazy at the age of 37 for him to win the MVP. That would be insane, but it would be well-deserved, especially with how the Rams are playing. I mean, you got Devontae Adams on one side and Puka Nacua on the other. And then you got Kyron Williams running that football. You got Corum also, a complimentary back as well. Yeah, the Rams are doing their thing. And, Matthew Stafford definitely deserves more props in the MVP conversation. Of course, like I mentioned, I do want to talk about the sacks. The sacks for the Colts. They've given up 12 sacks in the last 2 games. Now, it's pressure from the outside with the young I think the pass pressure that they've been facing in Pittsburgh and the Falcons with the young guys, James Pierce Jr. Being one of those guys as well. But, yeah, the Falcons had the young guys, and they were doing their thing. And just the Pittsburgh Steelers, they were bringing all kind of pressure. The Colts got to solve that. Their offensive tackles, they getting exposed just a little bit. So they got to step up there and make something happen. And be better, because if they're not better, then there's holes in their game and their offensive line. Teams are going to expose that, and they still had to face the Houston Texans, and they got Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter. Boy, oh boy, All right. Well, one last thing I do want to talk about. I do want to talk about Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner was his first official game as a Indianapolis Colts corner. It's kind of give and take on what he did. No, I know some people will say, "Hey, he's brand new to the team. He's going to mess up some things," and I totally get that. But see, I've been seeing this same Sauce Gardner since in New Jersey, playing for the New York Jets. Yes, I said New Jersey because the stadium's in New Jersey. Yes, they're the New York Jets, but they play in New Jersey, just like the Giants play in New Jersey. But looking at him, there's a few different things that he does well, and there's other things that he did. It's just been this way for a minute for him. For me, watching him, I mean, he's definitely an anticipation guy. Definitely in one play, he anticipated the 3-step drop, and if he had one more step, he'd have picked off the pass. But in other aspects, he does guess a lot, and some moments are not good for guessing, like the red zone moment where he was basically, I think he took Kyle Pitts to the inside, and it was a cover 3. Then you left a linebacker on Drake London, who is their touchdown machine, the Falcons, and basically just lobbed it over the top, right into Drake London's hands. And he caught it right over the linebacker, which was an ultimate mismatch. Those are the type of things. And then technique-wise too. Sometimes Sauce can be a guy that, kind of is aggressive and trying to get physical with the wide receivers, and then also maybe the alignment where there's 2 steps to the inside, 2 steps to the outside. That can be some things that can kind of hinder him down the stretch in terms of running with a wide receiver stacking him. And stacking him means if you run a route and you get on top of a defensive back where they don't know which way you're going, you can break in or break out. That's the thing is with your footwork and with your technique, you can take away some of those things and make it rough for a wide receiver. I know they're pros too, and they make plays too, but you can make things tough for them also. But that's one thing that I noticed that I would say he probably needs to get a little bit more reps at in terms of, working on those things and really honing the technique. Because if he uses the technique along with the athletic ability, good God, that dude would be incredible. And he did that during his first year, but it just seems like some of those things, sometimes he gets caught up in using the athleticism and the ability he got, which he's got a ton of ability. He's 6'3" playing corner. He's got a ton of ability, but just refining the technique, I think that would take him to even another level, or the level he was at when he first entered the league and started taking over. So, it's just some thoughts for me. A former college defensive back, just looking at a few different things, watching it with my eagle eye. But we're going to take a quick commercial break. One more commercial break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about the Titans and finish up the show. We'll be right back.
Whether it's local or long distance, Milligan Logistics has you covered. Milligan Logistics was established in 2020 with over a combined 15 years of experience in trucking, hauling, and logistics, along with over 50 years collectively of project management experience. Again, whether it's near or far, Milligan Logistics has you covered with quality service, efficiency while taking pleasure in exceeding clients' expectations. Need goods moved short or long distance? Milligan Logistics has you covered. Just reach out to them at 615-354-2618. That's 615-354-2618. Or you can send them an email at milliganlogistics@gmail.com. Again, that's milliganlogistics@gmail.com.
All right, we are back for the final segment. In the final segment, we're going to talk about the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Tennessee Titans are back this week after a bye week. Of course, rough start to the season at 1-8. Of course, during or leading into everything in the bye week, they traded Draymond Jones. Draymond Jones, he had 4 sacks he had sacks in the last 4 games before being traded to the Baltimore Ravens. Now, if you don't know, during this trade basically gives a 5th-round pick that got sent to the Tennessee Titans from the 2026 draft. It can become a 4th-round pick if 2 things happen. Draymond Jones gets 2 sacks in the regular season, and secondly, if the Baltimore Ravens make the playoffs. So those 2 things happen, it can get moved to a 4th-round pick as well, which is good for the Tennessee Titans to gather up more picks. And, the 4th round has been good to them, especially last year with Gunnar Helm, Alec Iomanner, and Chim DK all being drafted in the 4th round and all being contributors for this offense this year and pieces for Cam Ward to grow with. So that's definitely one guy that got traded away. He was definitely doing this thing. But one guy that's still here is Jihad Ward. Jihad Ward is the guy that's going to be the pass rusher. Essentially, he has been active and intense pretty much every single game he's played out there. He's playing it like it's his last, and I enjoy watching him, and his energy is infectious as well. So he's going to be the main pass rusher at this point in time in terms of the edge pass rusher, not the main pass rusher. Of course, Jeffrey Simmons comes back; he's that guy. But that's definitely going to be something to watch. Just how the loss of Draymond Jones via trade is going to affect Jihad Ward and his pass rush as well, because those two did work well together. Of course, also you've got of course, continuing to build with Cam Ward. You have the Connect Four, which I call them Connect Four. That would be Gunnar Helms, tight end. That would be Chim DK, Alec Manor, who are two wide receivers, and then Cam Ward. I call them the Connect Four because these four always are meeting along with other wide receivers, early in the morning before practice, going over tape, things like that with each other, connecting, bonding, and then plus three of these guys were drafted in the 4th round, like I mentioned, Helms, DK, and Manor. So that's the Connect Four to me. It's going to be interesting to see how they grow that connection, continue to grow that connection as the season goes on, whether it's different little routes, different things like that. Because it's always interesting. The other interesting part of this is going to be, can you get Alec Manor and Chim DK going at the same time? Because it seems like one is going and the other one isn't. And, that's going to be something interesting to watch. They do take on the Houston Texans coming out of the bye week. Now, that's going to be rough because, of course, they didn't score against the Houston Texans in the last game that they played. They didn't even get inside the red zone. In a 26-0 26-0 loss they took in Houston. So in this game, of course, you see him for a second time. Maybe some things change up. Maybe the score changes as well. So we'll see what happens when it comes to them. And just, of course, still monitoring Cam Ward and seeing his growth and maturity, and see how he comes out of the bye week in terms of refreshed, renewed, and ready to go as the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. Now, that is the end of the show. Of course, I want to thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Touring the AFC South. Of course, you can catch all the episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, you name it, we are there. Also, the YouTube network, Mike Patton Network. You can go there, subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss any episodes. I also do shorts as well. They could be on football. They could be on other things. They could be potentially on other teams, which I'm thinking of one right now in my head, but you have to watch the YouTube channel to see it. You see what I did there? But thank you all for tuning in. Of course, you can catch me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Mike Patton82. That's MikePatton 82. You can also catch me on Instagram and Threads at _general_MP, as well as, of course, you can catch me on Blue Sky. I'm there too, at Mike Patton 82. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Touring the AFC South. We're out.